Good morning, everyone. I'm coming from Reno, Nevada, and I have a special guest today. I've known her through Instagram and social media, and from the other community that we have specifically in the traditional bachata community. And she is also a DJ, and she is also a promoter, and she is also a teacher. And yes, she has a lot of things to say as far as uh, the things that we promote when it comes to bachata and the culture in the Dominican Republic. Please welcome Jessica Taylor, aka DJTay.
Thanks for having me.
How are you, Jessica?
I'm doing well. I'm still a little tired after having an event this weekend, but everything's good.
How was it? What was the event?
For the first time, I threw a fundamentals weekender that I taught, and it was also celebrating our ninth anniversary of For La Bachata. And it went so well. I'm really pleased with it.
That's good. Were they mostly beginners or they were intermediate? Because I know that a lot has changed with the view of the basic foundation and stuff that even advanced dancers are taking it now.
Yeah, there was a mixture. There were a lot of new dancers, like some people that have been following my events for a while were bringing all their students, which was so lovely to have so many fresh dancers there.
Yeah.
But there were also people that have been dancing traditional bachata for a long time or just regular bachata, but wanted to learn more about bachata as it's danced in DR. So it was a mix.
So when it comes to these lessons that you offer and the other powers that be that are our friends, I mean, when you were a student, Jessica, were you just taking the bachata for the basics of it, or just you were just taking just to hang out? Because okay, it's basic, right? Some people claim that, oh, well, I already know this. Why do I need to take workshop? But then, you know, there are certain students there, whether they're advanced or just intermediate, still taking it. What do you think is the reason?
For taking like fundamentals classes. Um,
They don't need it. I don't know.
well, so I think the longer you dance, the more you realize that having really clean basics is what actually makes you feel like what we call an advanced dancer, right? Or an experienced dancer.
Yeah.
It's not how many things you can do, it's really the quality of your movement. And I think that's why people like to loop back through and just make sure, like, check in, like, am I focusing on my body movement in my basic step?
Yeah.
Like, am I focusing on the fundamentals of partner work and doing really my best there?
Yeah. Now, FTLOB, which is for the Lava Bachata, when did you create this? I know you're the founder. And what does it um, offer for the bachata community, that is?
Um, so I started in February 2013. Across the last 9 years, it has offered a lot of different things because I never ever planned on doing the things I'm doing now.
Uh-huh.
Uh, when I first started it, it was a reaction to some people in my community saying bachata is not good as salsa, right? It's so simple. There's nothing good about it. That's why nobody likes it.
Hmm.
And so, like, literally, the phrase for la bachata was like kind of like an explanation, like, for the love of bachata, like, stop arguing.
Okay. Yeah.
And so,
I love it.
and so I created the page on Facebook really just as a way to start sharing music. I was just putting YouTube links because I had become convinced that people weren't hearing enough bachata songs.
True.
There were the same maybe 20 songs were in rotation among all the salsa nights. And I was like, yeah, of course they're not going to like it if they only ever hear me duela la cabeza like every night. So, although that's a good song, I'm not hating on it.
No, it used to be my favorite until everyone played it. So,
Yeah, you need to hear more than that. So that was my first goal. And then by summer, I had been hosting an outdoor thing in this really beautiful part of Pittsburgh called Mount Washington. You can overlook the city with just a couple friends. And then, the one night we had 15 people show up. Of the people I invited, I was like, wow, this is great. and I posted some pictures, and everyone was like, why didn't you invite me? Like, I want an invite. So I was like, okay, okay, we'll do it again at the end of June. And suddenly, like, over 100 people showed up. Right.
Nice.
And that, like, that really started propelling me into organizing events, because then it was like, okay, let's do it at the Point in Pittsburgh downtown. Let's do it here. And then once more people started loving bachata through these really unique opportunities, I was like, they're doing some scary stuff. They're dipping and it's unsafe. So that's when, I brought my first instructor by October. Like,
Yeah,
these people got to be safe,
yeah, yeah. Now, how did you come to get attracted to bachata and get into it? How did that happen for you? I'm sure, like many of us, you were a salsera first, maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's hard to define because, the first time I heard Latin music was in my Spanish classes in high school.
Hmm.
And I remember really liking all of it, not really knowing the difference between like salsa and son. Like, our teacher had us listening to like Buena Vista Social Club. And so I then became a Spanish education major in college. By my last year of college, I started hanging out more with like the Latin student organization, and they invited me to join a dance team. And on that dance team, right, that was where I got my first like salsa lessons, bachata lessons,
Of course.
merengue
Yeah,
lessons,
yeah.
reggaeton. It was really, really fun. So I learned my basics with them. And after that, I mean, I was hooked on all of the genres.
That's good. And now you do an event annually or twice a year, maybe. What is this event?
So I mean, I don't really know what it looks like after the pandemic yet. I'm still figuring that out. But before the pandemic, it was two big events a year that I called For La Bachata Experience. Before that was just For La Bachata Festival, where I would bring international instructors in, and then we would also do a smaller anniversary party in March, and as well as like pop-up socials and my outdoor events I was still doing in the summers. Now, since the pandemic, I started focusing on teaching, which was what allowed me to teach my own weekender this past weekend, which was great. So I'm still kind of figuring out what format I want to adopt. As a teacher, I would love to shift my events more, like do a big one in the summer with international artists, so I'm not so exhausted trying to go
Yeah,
back to work afterwards.
yeah. You do work full time also. Beside this is the this is just a hobby and probably a side job for you, but you have your day job, right?
Yeah, I do.
That's good. And not too many promoters have that. I do also after the pandemic, or actually during the pandemic, I have my day job now. Uh, and that this was a big change from 2006, where I left the corporate sector. And then pandemic. I never worked in my entire life, never looked back until the pandemic. And, all of us have to survive, but it's pretty much, how did you, during the pandemic, when you didn't teach any classes, did you do any alternatives like online? And how is online like when it comes to teaching?
Yeah, so I did, because I had to cancel two events due to the pandemic: the
True.
anniversary in
Yeah.
March and the spring experience in April. So I started switching to an online format where we would do a 1 hour class with a 30-minute Q&A. I was trying to provide as much value to dancers as possible with like the Q&A. They also got to keep the recording. Um, and that, I mean, it was okay. It wasn't like breaking the bank, but it
Right.
kept us afloat. It was paying for all the business expenses that are annual, like, like the insurance and the
Yeah.
accounting and all those things that nobody realizes that we all have to pay for.
Yeah.
But aside from like the financial aspect, for me it was a really enriching experience because my dancing got better just from taking these workshops every month.
Right.
um and I still have them that I can go back and watch, like the workshop with Argenis and Carolina when I want to work on my syncopations, or
Mhm.
you know um so yeah, that was actually really cool. I think a lot of dancers were convinced that they didn't want to learn online or they couldn't learn online, but the group we had was really great that would come every month.
That's good for the continuity, and I mean, I'm surprised because I was not I was one of the doubters. Like online classes, I don't know if that's even successful for the teachers or even successful for the students to learn. But then now I'm finding out that there are different ways that people can learn and different ways that the teachers can present. Um, I like your marketing. I do. I'm into marketing a lot. I'm a psychology major, so I always watch all kinds of behaviors and what's trending and what's not. But you have a different type of marketing that you do. What is it? What's so unique about your marketing? I'm not gonna say it here, but I'd like you to say it.
um, you know, I think
You're
one of
different from the rest. This I know.
I know, yeah. I find it fascinating that you've picked up on that. Well, authenticity is one of my greatest personal values.
Hmm.
So I always try to promote with that in mind, like make sure that I'm speaking in an authentic way.
Yeah.
It's also really important to me to be speaking with love and not trying to attract people with like, oh, it's hype, it's lit, the party, we're gonna get drunk, like it's the
Sure.
biggest, it's the best. I'm not trying to talk like that because I don't think it attracts what I want. Like
Yeah.
I always want to make sure that my message aligns with the kind of people that I would like to come.
Yeah. Yeah. It works. I've been noticing your marketing and Instagram. Uh, you are tapping into certain students that wouldn't go to a workshop otherwise, or even certain students that are already progressive that hasn't tapped into the other side of learning the basics. And this is what's needed in our community. This is what's needed in the dancers actually, because lately, as you know, I'm sure you've been watching our discussions, techniques is missing. Good techniques is missing. The right teachers teaching it is missing. And so therefore social dancing uh, has been dangerous, to say the least. And this is unfortunate. So we should have more many workshops like what you do. I'm sure there are people that are doing that now, but you're more evident because of the way you market in the social media. And I think that powers that be should start implementing more basic workshops, basic foundations, and all of that good stuff for being a good social dancer. So I applaud you for that because not too many people do it. But anyways, what are your favorite teachers that you invited to your festival, and what make them different?
Mm,
Who are I should say? Yeah.
I've invited so many people and they've all contributed value in some ways, but
Well, let me rephrase the question. Let me rephrase this. What do you like about Edwin Ferreras when it comes to teaching?
yeah, he definitely is one of my personal favorites. He's been very impactful for me. I like that he's an educator as well. So when he's teaching, right, he really is keeping the important stuff in mind. He also has a very loving presence, and he's very fun without I'm lacking the words for it, but without again being like it's hype, it's lit, right? Without that, he has the energy and he draws you in, and he also has such unique content. I love diving more into the history of the music and the history of the dance. I feel like that lit something up in me, right? It inspired me to do more of my own like history research.
Yeah, I like the way he structured his classes. Of course, he's authentic, and of course, he has a different energy. And when it comes to teachers, that certain energy that we're looking for as students is very important. Otherwise, the students will not come back for a workshop. What do you think of Carlos Sinta?
Carlos is the one that changed everything for me. He was the second instructor I ever brought. I had no idea what I was getting. I just knew that someone introduced us and said, Jess, I didn't think anyone loved bachata as much as you. I think I found somebody you two should meet. and
yeah,
I brought him, and it just rocked my world, right? Learning
yeah,
about the music and not realizing what I was missing. And then he introduced me to, Adam Taub and Edwin and Daniela. And my world was further changed with
yeah,
them.
yeah. That's good. Now, the DJ part of your life, when did this happen for you? Maybe the DJ came first and then the dancing came later, or what's the story about this?
So when I started hosting my events, right, nobody in Pittsburgh had really been jumping on the bachata bandwagon, even though
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm,
was trying to get them to do it, right? I was trying to be like, I love bachata, more bachata, please. Or Romeo Santos went solo. Here's his new song. You should play it. And they were like, nah, right? So when I started doing events, I wasn't going to hire these people that weren't passionate. So I made my own playlists, and I would plan it out, and I would think about energy and what inspired me on the dance floor. And I could like tweak them in iTunes during the night if I needed to.
mm-hmm.
And after a while, DJs who were coming were like, "You think like a DJ. You should start DJing." And I was getting my master's as well at the time. So I was working full time, getting my master's, running
Yeah,
for La Bachata.
yeah.
I was like, when I graduate, we'll talk. And so when I graduated in 2015, I had to do it. So I got my first controller. I started playing every other week with a local DJ who really helped mentor me and like learn the mechanics of my equipment. Um, yeah, and it's just grown from there.
Now, what do you look for in a teacher when you are hiring for your events? What are the criteria?
Um, I want to hire people who really care about what they're doing. They care about the content, they care about the culture, they care about the people they're teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that I really look for. And I've been really lucky because even before the internet, when I could hire people and kind of test out their workshops, Edwin and Adam and Carlos would always send me recommendations. Like Carlos introduced me to Maria and Alex Bailamar, right? Which was, they were an amazing duo to bring to my events.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And now, you started dancing, I believe, in the year 2010 as a social dancer, and then you progressed from there. Hold on. Alexa, off. There's an alarm where I'm air frying chicken wings, and I had to put an alarm there so that I could turn it off. But I'll give it for like 15 more minutes because it's on like 350 degrees. It's not gonna be as cooked. But anyways, excuse for that commercial. But where where were we? We okay. You progress from there. Now, of all of the other styles of bachata, why did you pick traditional?
I didn't at first. Like I
Mm-hmm.
fell in love with, Prince Royce's music. And I mean, I still was listening to like Luis Miguel de la Margue, Hector Acosta,
Mm-hmm.
but I really like the R&B style because I love R&B music as well. And I loved, honestly, to be very, very honest, I used to love doing body rolls
Hey, listen, everyone. She used to love doing body rolls.
before they were forced upon me. When it was my choice and my little styling, I used to
Right.
love it, but they have been killed and beaten like a dead horse. Um, right. So again, when I met Carlos and then I met Adam and I met Edwin and I met Daniela and right, just started really learning more about bachata as it's actually danced in DR.
Yeah.
It was like the rabbit hole, and I have never come back out of it.
Did you relate to it right away? Did you feel like at home when you danced this traditional style? Because I did. When I first saw it, it's like, this makes more sense. This feels right, you know?
It was really fun, in a different way because modern bachata is so much like up top.
Of
It's
course.
the turns and redirections.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the connecting with the ground in your body movement did feel like home,
Yeah.
and dancing in shapes. I don't know. It was just a lot more engaging for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Now, have you been to the Dominican Republic?
Mhm.
What was your experience like there the first time you went?
Oh gosh. So the first time I went was in 2011, and I was
Mhm.
like, I know so much about bachata. I did not. I learned some things, and I use these anecdotes when I teach now, right? Because I tell
Sure.
them the things I learned, like you can't just go out and dance with everybody.
Nope. Nope.
Um,
Yeah.
they would tell me I turned too fast, and I was like, "What do you mean I turned too fast? I took this like I'm on time." I didn't understand they meant that they do it like an 8 count or slower. What else? That the follow leads to timing. I'd have a story where it's me and the leader like staring at each other's feet, like, "Are you gonna go?" I had all the accidental follies on that
Yeah.
trip, but
Yeah.
I also saw how diverse bachata was because I started off in Santo Domingo. I went to take more Spanish classes. Basically, I was in a Spanish school, and I didn't really like being in Santo Domingo as much, so we switched to Sosua and stopped in Samaná in between for a
Yeah.
weekend. So I saw bachata in Santo Domingo, I saw it in Samaná, I saw it in Sosua and Cabarete, and it was just so different in all the places. So that was really eye opening. However, I didn't yet comprehend what I had been seeing, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Now, the music, like when you first heard it there, was it different from the way they play in the West?
I don't have any memories of how I thought about their music playing yet in
When
2000.
when I was there, I didn't really hear any urban bachata there, except
Yeah.
some classic of Aventura then. And if they ever play, like you were mentioning Santo Domingo is not the place you should go for bachata, but because they play mostly reggaeton and and some other music there. But
Yeah.
yeah, so but yeah, you're right. The music is a little different. Of course, they have their favorites. They have El Mayembe as they always play. They have Zacarias Ferreira and all of the other greats, but rarely that we hear certain urban bachata.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part.
Now we look to the west. What do you think? I mean, I'm sure you have, everybody has an opinion. I have my opinion about bachata now, the way it evolved, and other styles, the way it got created and invented. Uh, Generally, what do you feel about it? Because I'm sure you've been watching our discussions, or you've probably been reading some posts by other people in the social media. I mean, what's your view on this?
On the like evolution of bachata.
Well, like for example, we were talking about the other week the labeling, the mislabeling, and where I happen to believe that bachata should be just bachata, and then the other styles we should put adjectives, while Dima believes that no, bachata is just bachata. There shouldn't be any adjectives at all. I mean, what do you think?
Oh, that's a hard one
It's a
because
very hard one, and it's very it's a confliction amongst us traditionalists, to be honest with you.
yeah, I have to say like just as a teacher and specifically as a language teacher, um I don't know, I have issues with just calling everything bachata.
Uh
I have a feeling Dima probably wants them not even to use the word bachata. I feel like he
huh.
wants to take them out.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
my intuition. I didn't
yeah,
hear what he said specifically, but like, but language, we need to use language in a way that we can agree upon it. And right now, there's a lot of confusion because
yeah.
what people call Dominican bachata or traditional bachata is performance bachata.
Indeed,
It is
indeed.
like Dominican inspired modern bachata at
Yeah,
best, and that gets really really confusing. So I've tried to stop using traditional when I can. However, I can't eliminate it all the time because not everybody understands the naming issue
yes,
that's going on, right?
yeah.
um yeah,
I,
that
I mean, you've seen the video of Amanda Grace, and then of course now we're talking about sensual style there, and then of course you've seen the evolution I should say from traditional bachata to
mhm.
Dominican bachata, which there's like dramatic footwork and all of that stuff. But um, I think for me, yes, there is that part where you just can't. Yeah, adjective is okay because what are we gonna do with these people now? What are we gonna do with the styles now? They obviously are promoting bachata, uh, 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 but they're not promoting the OG bachata, and so there is a pros and cons there. The pros is that okay, bachata is being known all over the world. The cons is, are they learning the right bachata? You know?
Yeah, are they even aware of
Yeah.
what bachata is? Like this weekend, I started my weekender like asking people, why is it called traditional bachata? And they were just like, because it's an older style. I was like, no, it has evolved on the island. The way it's danced now is not the
Yeah.
same way it was danced in the 90s or the 70s,
Yeah.
right? Like traditional bachata on the island is talking about what their grandparents did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a big issue, but I also, knowing humans, I don't think we're ever going to resolve it, because like
No.
what I would name, what I think you're referring to as Dominican bachata, I would call it performance bachata. I was like footwork bachata, something else, like
Yeah.
entirely, you know.
Yeah.
And I know that they would not appreciate that, you
Yeah.
know.
You know, at some point I started calling it Dominican bachata because now everybody is has their own style of bachata, and it's like, well, how are these people ever gonna know how Dominican bachata is, how traditional bachata is, if we just call it bachata, where people question it's like, are you dancing bachata? That offends me to even answer certain questions, but to understand them, they're in the West, and the majority of the classes offered are not traditional bachata. They're modern or sensual or whatever you want to call it. And that's why I call it Dominican bachata, because if I call it traditional bachata, they would not understand. If I call it Dominican bachata, at least they know, oh, so that's the way how Dominicans dance it, you know. So I don't know, but to me, it made sense at the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's so tricky because some, like, I used to think there were just these three iterations of bachata, but really there's more types of fusions. There's, some people use the term urban bachata. There is, like I keep saying, what you see where it's more footwork bachata, like that's all they're doing to
Yeah,
it, but they're
yeah.
not really demonstrating what you see on the island. So I don't know. I've started just calling it bachata as it's danced on the
On the
island, or
Dominican Island.
bachata with
Yeah, yeah.
island style. Like I try to reinforce it that way.
It's just too long of a term.
It is. It's not, no, it's not something that should be used every time, but
Yeah,
um when I realize I've been saying bachata generically too long, and that the people who are reading my posts might not really be understanding, especially if they're new, I
mm,
try to put that in there to at least intrigue them. Like, what does she mean, like with island style? Like, what is that?
yeah, yeah. And I know that was the very first question I've ever asked Carlos Sinta about this. Like, you call it island bachata? Explain this to me. That's the way they dance in the island, right? It's like, yes. He said, it's like, now we have many terms, you know. But yeah, we will never resolve this discussion. The question, though, however, Jessica, is can we ever live together? Can we ever be in the same room? Uh, a- a- Although with different styles, can we ever be in the same room dancing to bachata songs?
That's also a tough one. I think on both sides. However, as a DJ, I've seen the people that complain the most about anything that is not their own is the sensual dancers.
I see. That's very
The
interesting. Yeah.
I've played at a big festival down in Florida, and they had me playing on the beach, and they said they wanted 50-50. However, their crowd was not 50-50. So it was more like 70-30. And every time a person who only really knew like actual bachata came up, they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Maybe I don't know what bachata is. I was thinking it was like Anthony Santos, Luis Vargas. Do you play any of that?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's actually coming up next song. Like, I got you." And then as soon as I played that song, somebody would come up and be like, "What is this shit? Turn this shit off." Or I'd be playing like Going Cosmos, JR, like the most sensual sounding stuff that is still actually bachata, and a dancer would come up and be like, "You only play traditional bachata." And
I was just gonna ask you that question.
like, I was like, "Oh, so you only know remixes. You don't actually know what bachata is." And I think that hurt him, which I didn't mean to, but it was just like,
we have a big problem with bachata education when it comes to music. It's a big problem because, yeah, you are playing Kim and Cosmos, you play Prince, even when you play Prince Royce, they're gonna think certain songs of Prince Roy, they're gonna think you're playing traditional bachata, which is very sad to me. How the hell do we resolve this thing? It's very hard because we have this technology. You and I can talk like this, and you're from the East Coast, I'm from the West. Yet the education and the information of bachata is not being published as it's supposed to be. But there's so many misinformation there. I don't know. Maybe you should start with the teachers when they start teaching in their workshops. Maybe. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, I feel like music education, culture education, history education should be mandatory, except for how do you make it mandatory in a community like this? Like, we don't really want to turn bachata into ballroom,
Yeah,
but I do think responsible teachers should be including music education. They should be leaning on the enormous gift that Carlos Sinta and Joan Soriano gave to us with their bachata
unless
down.
they don't know.
That's possible. I mean, that is possible. I
Yeah,
do think some of them, because they will like shout out Carlos Cinta on occasion. I do think they know, but they still just don't make it a point to learn that on their own, figure out how to package it in their own way that's not exactly duplicating Carlos's work,
yeah.
offering it.
I mean, actually, ladies and gents, Carlos Sinta's DVD when it comes to this music thing that Jessica and I were talking about, I think he put it in a DVD or CD or something, right?
You could even download it in pieces on the
Yeah.
internet right now.
Yeah, it's believe me, it's an investment. Whether you're a teacher or you're just beginning to dance bachata, it is an investment. I don't have it, but I know how he created it. I've watched him too many times when I invite him at my festival. I know when he began teaching that workshop, so I know that it's it's uh, it's a textbook, when it comes to bachata music, and when it comes to bachata dancers dancing to the bachata music. Uh, anyway, what's new with you when it comes to the festivals or when it comes to just the weekly event maybe in your town? I know we were talking about it when we were not recording as far as social dancing is concerned and hosting in your town. You are in Washington D.C.,
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Okay, so close.
4 hours.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh's been back to dancing for a while. I haven't been. I was trying to be really on the cautious side.
Yeah,
One of my family that's like kind of, compromised. We're not sure to what degree.
I
So
see.
I've just been trying to be really careful. Though I am starting to go back out now because we got to go back to living.
Mm, yeah.
Um,
I mean, you don't go to. I haven't seen you at festivals, at least in my end. Um, do
no.
you go to other festivals besides in that area, or you just it's because of your profession and of course you have your puppy or your dog to take care of? Is that one of the reasons why you don't go out of the East Coast?
Yeah, I'm a teacher, so getting time off is really challenging unless it's the summer.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, so many things happen during the school year, like
Yes.
all these amazing like festivals in Dominican Republic are all during the school year.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so I mean, I do like I've been to various festivals, but most of them are within like a I don't know, 6 or 7 hour radius of Pittsburgh.
I see. I see. Yeah.
Yeah, but I am going for the first time to Allo Dominican in Barcelona this May
Oh, for
because
the first time, you'd
the,
love it.
the lineup was too good. I was like, all right, I'm using my personal days. I'm using
Yeah.
some comp time. I'm squeezing out a 5-day weekend. I'm going to do
Well,
it.
the format of the Dominican Republic, well, at least when I first hosted it with Vesa, is the idea was to gather all the teachers there, and the idea is for the tourists, that's us coming from America or Europe, to tour the Dominican Republic dance community, go to the barrios, go to the clubs, and then do workshop in certain areas. And I think this is the same format that the powers that be that are doing there now, like Junior, like the Russians. I forgot Maria and Alex. Actually, Maria and Alex. I know they came to my festival many times. But so, is it the same format? Is this Allo Festival? Is the same format that I'm talking about?
Oh, so Allo Dominican is actually in Barcelona, in Spain.
Oh, so it's not going to be in Dominican Republic?
No, their timeline
Dominican teachers, right?
bringing Dominican
Okay.
Republic to you. So yeah, it's hosted by Argenis and Carolina.
Oh, I
Argenis
see.
is
Okay.
from San Pedro.
Yeah.
And they have, I mean, they have Junior and Carolina, they have Anthony and Carla, they have Sunruta and Bavin, they have Areto Arts, they have like
Oh,
all
great teachers.
people. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I only know most of these Europeans through Facebook. Like
Yeah.
I've got to go meet them in person.
Oh, I'm trying to bring them here, especially Junior.
Expensive. It's expensive.
Especially Junior, but it's a visa problem. Yeah,
That is also a hard part of being an
it is
organizer.
the hard part of being a promoter. Not to mention, work visa is also an issue right now, and I think it's going to be a big issue in the years to come, depending on how strict the people at the airport. Usually they could get away with tourist visa, right? But then in my experience, and mostly Kizomba teachers where I used to hire before, they get turned back. So you lose money, you lose a certain marketing thing there because your A lineup is missing. But that's just the way it is in our industry.
Mhm.
Um, so have you danced sensual bachata? Because you said you used to body roll.
Yeah, I mean, I was into it at first, and I
Yeah.
think I would have continued to like it had it not
Sorry. Go ahead.
um, just so unregulated to the point where people were copying everybody's demos off of YouTube and
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to do their own home learning job for it, or whatever. Like there really wasn't any kind of system for the social appropriateness of it. Don't do this with somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
Don't do this if you can't do this first, right? So there was just a lot of inappropriate touching, a lot of really bad leading, and then looking at me like I'm the problem. I'm like, you didn't move your body at all. You just did this with your hands. I'm not going
Yeah.
to follow that,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. I just got fed up. I got tired of being touched inappropriately.
Right. So define touching inappropriately. Let me be specific. Do you welcome kissing of hand?
No one's done that, but that look at my face like no.
Hair caress?
Don't touch me.
Forget
Don't touch
it.
my hair.
Because I see this in social, and I'm asking myself, is it just me or does people? Because I could see some women surprised, some follow surprise, get surprised in their face. I could see it, just the little bit of their eyes grow
Yeah.
big. I was like, what the hell did he just do? So I
A lot
don't
of
know. I mean,
fake
the legality of this, because I don't know.
touching. There's a lot of stuff that like you wouldn't do to a stranger. So just because you're dancing doesn't mean suddenly you can touch me all the way down here as much as you want.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. I
a
saw
lot of
that too. Yeah,
people don't pick because they're like, well, I saw Daniel and Desiree do it on YouTube. And it's like they're married
yeah,
and they've been dancing together a very long time. They have
yeah,
rapport.
yeah, yeah. Now, what do you think in our own community, the traditional part, what do you think is missing when it comes to, I mean, in my opinion, the other styles are marketed so well, but I don't think we're marketing it more. And I don't think we have more exposures than them. So what do you think is missing? What should be done?
um, well, I think one of the biggest things is you can't see how good body movement and body weight transfer feels.
Yeah.
And so what feels incredible looks boring. And I think there's
Ooh,
that
ooh, ooh, that's a good quote. That's a good quote. What feels incredible looks boring. That's really good. Okay, good.
like you can't feel how good that mutual weight transfer feels.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's why Dakota says like basic the shit out of me. Like it's great even though it looks so simple. But on the other side, I don't know. I feel this for all the people who feel like their dance style is not given the acknowledgement, like salseros who are like, "Oh, bachata has killed salsa," and it's like, I don't know. I think sometimes we forget to tell people why we love it.
Mm,
Right? Like
yeah,
that's how I was successful with bachata in the beginning because I was like, I love bachata, everyone. Let me tell you why I love bachata. And I try to continue to share like that with
yeah,
my events. But, a lot of times, like the old school way, you could just create the event and people would come.
yeah.
Into social media and like just intense competition, people had to actually learn to like sell their event. And I don't know. I feel like in a smaller degree, we need to remind people why we love this style. Like, what is the benefit?
As a promoter, I know that salsa will not survive without bachata or without other dances when it comes to congresses. Okay, I know they title it Salsa Congress, but they have to have bachata rumba. Is it vice versa with bachata? Can bachata survive just bachata and no salsa or other styles of dances in a festival?
I think so right now. I mean, bachata's still like on its high. That doesn't mean like eventually Zouk isn't going to take over. I
Is
mean,
it
Zouk,
taking over? You think? Well,
in some
sensual. Yeah,
ways,
yeah, yeah.
some ways, I think it has the potential to be like another bachata, and they actually take care of their people and have very strict standards for behavior and for, foundations.
Is
Um,
kizomba still growing in your community? Because it died here.
well, so I have a friend named Mike. He runs Steel City Kizomba here. He's trying. He tries to promote the way I promote bachata.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it is hard. I think also though, Pittsburgh's just a small city. Like we're a city of like 300,000 people.
Right.
Our scene is only going to be so big to begin with.
Yeah. I I don't know. It died in the West, in my opinion. And there's still some few. It's just too many too many scandals. And I am predicting that if sensual bachata, and I don't mean this in any offensive way, guys, if sensual bachata does not uh, uh, fix its shit up, it's gonna end up like Kizomba. It's gonna be hated because it's gonna be there will be some scandals, and so that's just me. This is out of Jessica's opinion. That's just me, and guys, I'm opinionated. I say it like it is, but that's just my thing about it. I'm surprised to for you to say that Zook, maybe in your area, but Zook died here also. It's not in any relation to either Central Bachata or Kizomba, but it just died here. I hope to I hope to promote it more. To be honest with you, I kind of thought about it a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, but anyway, uh, what do you think of Romeo's new song?
I like it. I mean, it sounds
It's
very
danceable, yeah,
it sounds like Romeo Santos music.
yeah.
It's got a long ass intro though. I'm like, what am I gonna do with this?
Body roll.
I think that's a DJ because I don't really like to mix because as a dancer, I don't really like when DJs are
You and
mixing.
I are the same. I don't like to cut the intro. I don't like to mix it. Yeah.
But it's not real easy either. So yeah. Um yeah, I mean I like it. I definitely like Utopia way better.
Oh yeah,
That
Utopia
was
is the best. Yeah,
classic.
yeah, yeah. Utopia is classic. It's gonna become a classic, and it should not be forgotten by both sides, whether it's sensualist, or modernist, or traditionalist. It is indeed appreciated, and I hope more artists will make something like that. But and I think that Utopia is one of the best education for both beginners and advanced dancers when it comes to music of bachata. That's that should be in the curriculum of Carlos Sinta. If he has not included that yet, it would be so great because it's so it's so in the middle, and I hope so. But anyways, hey Jessica, I hope you come to one of my festivals. Let's talk about it. Let's arrange it one of these days.
Okay.
Tell me when you're available, because I know teachers have certain breaks, right?
Yeah. Break for Christmas, break for,
Quarters, maybe quarterly, or spring break or something.
yeah, we have spring break right before Easter. So this year it's in April. And then summer break is the good one when I have a lot of fun.
When on April is your break?
Um, April 9th.
Too early. Okay.
That's this year. So I'm always booked for Baltimore Salsa Bachata Congress that Easter weekend anyway. So
That is before my festival. Yeah, I saw that Baltimore is having some good lineup too, actually. Yeah, I saw that because that's before my festival in Hawaii, which is the 22 through the 26 also. But yeah, you're not available at that time.
definitely not to fly
I
that
have
far.
many friends that are teachers like you that just cannot make it. It's like, "Ah, darn it. It's like, arrange it such a way. No, I can't. That's just the way it is. But
Yeah.
anyway, a beginner student, how do you teach them? Because there are many kinds of beginner student. Okay, so you teach in a group, obviously. How do you design your class?
So my 8 week classes, I give them like one little thing, a lot of like one little things in a lesson, and then I will try to spiral it through. So the first week, I teach them about like the percussion section of the music because this is what you're dancing to. We talk about the basic step in place and a box step. We also talk about body movement, like how to transfer your weight. It took me a while to like figure out what was working best. And so far, it's a little weird, but I actually have them feel their pelvic bone and make sure that it's moving because so many were cheating and they were bending their knee, but their hips weren't moving. And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
how? How is that happening? So now I make them actually feel that their pelvis is moving.
I, you
and
know, I
so,
don't think beginners can handle the weight shifting. Some do because genetics and their culture, the way they grew up. But if they have different culture than the Latin culture, even some Latinos can't can't move their. They don't know the concept of weight shifting. Um, in my experience, is probably the hardest thing to learn. Uh, Even some advanced dancers, sadly, doesn't know what that is, or even if they do, they cannot do it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I honor that. I tell them, I'm like, guys, especially if you're growing up in Western culture, you have been literally told, do not move your body like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have a very homophobic culture. We've
Mm-hmm.
assigned certain traits to genders that
Yeah.
are it's pretty arbitrary, because in Latin culture, men are allowed to shake their booties, and it
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
it's
Oh
actually
yeah.
like a sign of masculinity. Like
Oh
it's
yes.
so it's arbitrary, but I tell them to honor it. I'm like, you have spent your whole life not moving this, and now I'm telling you, move it. And you actually, for some guys, you have to actually like teach your muscles and your ligaments and stuff to stretch because they're very short and tight. So
Yeah.
yeah, that part is a process, but we loop through all the things. Like we do music every week, a little bit more. We do more steps every week. We do body movement every week. Um, and then I also add like a culture tip every week and a social tip every week
Yeah.
to help them,
Well, so we're going into the normalcy pretty soon when it comes to the COVID thing, right? So
hopefully.
where do you see FTLOB in the next coming years now? What's your vision? What are your goals? What are you thinking?
I would love it if I could finally build my local community to appreciate this style because throughout the past years, for one, I think 2 or 3 events a year focused on the style was not enough instruction to really
Mm-hmm.
change their habits.
Mm-hmm.
But also, and this was even true this last weekend, my events are at least 50% out of towners.
Yeah.
Local
Yeah.
community, they love my parties because they're going to be big, they're going to have lots of new people, but they're not necessarily inspired to like try it out. So I'm
Okay.
hoping to get enough people through my classes that are enjoying dancing in shapes and enjoying the music that we start seeing that dance in my local community. And of course, I'll continue the stuff that I've been doing. I still want to bring in international instructors. But yeah, I want to focus more on my local community, I think.
Okay. Is promoting a good career for the people that wants to ask, or do they stick
No.
to their day job? Why you're laughing?
Only do this if you are passionate and you want to make a difference. If you are Mother Teresa, come on in. But this is not a great money maker, to be honest.
Yeah,
Even this weekend, like, with everything going on with Ukraine right now, I was like, I gotta do a donation thing. I gotta donate money. And my mom was like, will you just let yourself make money? I'm like, I can't.
yeah,
And I discounted so many passes for students. They got 50% off. I had name your discount, just because I really want the people who want to learn to come, right?
yeah.
But it's hard. It is really hard.
But one of the things in our community, and then we're talking about traditional bachata, okay? One of the things I love, all of us, our artists, it's mostly passion that we do. It's not just a hobby. It's not just money making. God, if you're into money making, you shouldn't get into this area, like she said. But but
And
the
it's not trying to
teachers,
be
but the
famous.
teachers are very understandable. They know exactly what we go through. Uh, Unlike any other styles out there, they're really on for the money making, and they will never understand or relate to that. And that's the difference. And therefore, when we have this relationship to a promoter, to relationship within a promoter, teacher, and students, when we have this relationship that it's a passion, that we do everything for it, you will feel the vibe whether you're organizing a social, whether you're organizing a festival, or whether you're organizing a boot camp. You feel the vibe, and that vibe is actually pretty addicting. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, as, you're into psychology, right? As humans, like our relationships are what drive us, right? We would all be super depressed and sad if we didn't
Yeah.
have relationships, and I think our need for dancing comes from that, our seeking relationships. So I do really like that about our community, because everybody here
Yeah.
actually really cares. We
Yes.
all have like really similar intentions, and so it's easy. Like pretty much anytime I've hired somebody, they become my friend.
Yeah.
They're not just an artist I've hired, they're now my friends, like, and it's
Yeah.
like we're a big family.
Yeah. Anyways, Jessica, where did I find you? I know you're Instagram. I know you're on Facebook. You probably have a website, so go ahead and say it to our audience.
All right, so Instagram at For La Bachata, Facebook, you can search For La Bachata. However, there are some other ones. So it's specifically facebook.com/love for number four bachata.
Love for bachata.
And the website is www.forlabachata.com.
And they're pretty much updated when it comes if there's a new event or anything, right?
Yeah. Plus on my website, I have my blog, I had a little podcast with social dancers, though I lost my own steam on that one. I was doing too much. I just started a bachata library. I don't think you saw, but I linked your interview with Tony Lara on there
Hmm.
for like the history of modern bachata, because I thought
Oh,
that
I
was,
think I saw that. Yeah, I think I saw it on Facebook though. I saw it on Facebook. I saw you shared on Facebook because they usually have that note that's eight shared your thing, and then I look at who shared it, and you
yeah,
shared it.
well, I shared it there, but then I was trying to build a bachata library of like all the books I've read and articles that are helpful. And I thought that interview and the one that you were part of with um
Ori, Ori,
Filtro,
the
yeah,
skit. Yeah, yeah,
were just so enlightening for how modern bachata started,
yeah.
that I put those on there as resources as well. So
The
um
reason those videos were good is because the promoters such as I and Tony Lara and even Jorge Lozando were humble enough to admit that we were making up shit.
And I appreciate that, because it's like, aha. Some people have said that. They've said that bachata is like modern bachata is salsa
Yeah,
to bachata. And,
yeah,
and I believed it then, because I was like, oh, yeah, for sure. Like some of the arm stuff. But it was just very validating to hear it,
yeah,
and to understand that. And it doesn't mean we can't like it, because I did
yeah.
very much like modern bachata before Central Bachata brought all the tricks and stuff.
Now,
Um,
audience, don't misunderstand that we're just making up shit to trick you. No, no. The
not with any,
reason I was making up shit is when I was invited, I could only teach a few moves. I was like, well, hell, I have to be creative here because I didn't know what bachata was. I only saw what bachata in my version in my town. And so I was like, well, then I gotta have to make up shit based on what I've experienced, you know. So yeah.
yeah, we forgive you. Don't worry. It was also before social media blew up the way it has, before
Yeah.
YouTube blew up and became accessible worldwide, so
Yeah.
we forgive you. And I like, honestly, I'm thankful for those efforts because I probably would not have found
That
bachata.
is true too.
Even the Latino friends that taught me, I don't know where they were pulling it from because they were all living here for
Yeah.
most of their adulthood, right? Their upper childhood. Um, so I'm just thankful that I had a community to
Yeah.
plug into, and also grateful that later on I found, the real thing.
Well, eventually that's what happens. Even if it started wrong or started not the way it's supposed to start, later on students will realize or even find out the truth. That's just the way it is, and it is up to them to either empty their cup again and just relearn. And that's what I did. And what I shared in the video on last week when we were doing a debate. And it's like, look, I went to the Dominican Republic, it opened my eyes. And then I went back here. It's like, is it in my conscience to still teach? You
Mhm.
know, I didn't. I had to change. That's just me. But anyway, Jess, it's been great. Thank you for this interview. Then I got to know you more.
Yeah.
Usually in my podcast, I only interview people that I've met in person, but I'm changing that because there are many influencers now, such as you, especially in our small community that we do, who are making an impact. And I thought, like, let's get to know Jessica because I heard from some teachers like Edwin and DJ Ron Swarson about you. And so I was like, I want to get to know Jessica, and maybe my audience can get to know her as well. But thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Anyways, where this is recorded, and I'm gonna post it in the vlog and in the YouTube, and I'll tag you about it. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway, have a good week, and take care of your dog.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye for now.